Morning, it's November 21st, and this is To My Liberal Friends, and if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be a little bit wonky in data today, but I think I need to be to make the point. And it becomes apparent each day that Democrats are looking for a reason they lost big time in the elections earlier this month. Depends on who you talk to, but there's no shortage of reasons. The one that caught my eye comes from the Socialist Senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders. It should come as no surprise to anyone that Senator Sanders believes that the reason Democrats lost was they didn't attack the wealthy hard enough. It's been a consistent theme of the Democrats, and they advocate higher taxes on higher income earners in the country. You've all heard this familiar frame, "I just want the wealthy to pay their fair share." Now you notice they never define what fair share means. There's a good reason why they use it as a soundbite, but never tell you exactly what it means. I would suggest that it might be time to once again review how much of the federal tax burden is borne by what Democrats refer to as wealthy. I know this is known to Senator Sanders, but he prefers to ignore the facts in favor of having a talking point that he hopes if he says it enough, people might finally believe what he's saying. New Internal Revenue Service data for the tax year 2022 shows the U.S. federal income tax continues to be progressive as high-income taxpayers pay the highest average income tax rates. Average tax rates for all income groups remain lower in 2022, 5 years after the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that were passed in 2017. Note, this is not from some politician, this is from the Internal Revenue Service. The average income tax rate in 2022 was 14.5%. The top 1% of taxpayers paid 23.1% average rate, 6 times higher than the 3.7% paid by the bottom half of taxpayers. In 2022, the top 1% earned about 22% of the income and paid about 40% of the taxes on that income. The top 50% of all taxpayers paid 97% of all federal individual income taxes, while the bottom 50% paid the remaining 3%. But that data from the IRS has not stopped liberal Democrats from repeating their claim that the wealthy have to pay their fair share. And as I've said, they never give a real number on what they expect them to pay because people will quickly see how ludicrous they're being. Now, if you want more data and facts, I have them for you. The federal government expects to collect about $2.33 trillion in individual income taxes this year, accounting for nearly half of its total receipts. That's according to the Office of Management and Budget. The IRS expects more than 168 million individual tax returns to be filed this year. If previous year's patterns continue, about 2/3 of those returns will show some taxable income. What you will never hear the likes of Bernie Sanders and his fellow Democrats talk about is how many people pay zero in taxes. In 2020, the IRS received nearly 5.3 million individual tax returns that showed no adjusted gross income and hence no taxable income. Another 60.3 million returns showed AGIs of less than 30,000. The average effective tax rate for those taxpayers was 1.5%, even before refundable tax credits were applied. And millions of Americans actually get money from the IRS largely due to refundable tax credits. After refundable credits were figured in, taxpayers with AGIs below 30,000, including those with no AGI, collectively got back more than $78.6 billion from the IRS in 2020. For taxpayers with AGIs between $1 and $15,000, their average effective rate fell from negative 14.8%, and that's basically up from 10.3 in 2019. They actually were getting more money back. Another fact that the liberals like to pretend does not exist, that as a nation we redistribute $1.7 trillion from wealthy taxpayers to lower income people. If you place taxpayers in 5 quintiles, you get an idea how money is redistributed. The lowest quintile gets back $67 for every dollar they pay in tax. The second quintile gets $4.60 in benefits for every dollar. These benefits include such social programs as Medicaid, SNAP, Supplemental Security Income, and Social Security and Medicare. A study by the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development found that the United States had the most progressive income tax of any industrialized country. Their study showed that the top 10% of U.S. taxpayers paid a larger share of the tax burden than their counterparts in other countries, and our poorest taxpayers had the lowest income tax burden compared to poor taxpayers in other countries due to the refundable tax credits, such as Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit. If we're up to Bernie Sanders and his ilk, they would confiscate wealth and use it to fund more and more government spending. He ignores the national debt and just keeps looking at more programs for the government to fund. Democrats look to increase the corporate rate. In 2017, it was reduced to 21%. That was followed by a lot of screaming by liberals, but they forget that Barack Obama wanted to reduce it to 22%. The reason was simple. Other nations have a lower rate, and corporations were moving their tax status overseas. As an example, Ireland has a corporate rate of 15%, and prior to that it was as low as 12.5%. In summary, and I apologize for all the facts, when Democrats start using the term fair share, it's simply meant to be a talking point without any real data to back it up. It's designed to make the topic emotional and devoid of facts. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, and again, I apologize for all the facts in there, but they need to be there to make the point. Thank you for listening.